Hey, what's going on guys? It's Oleg and I'm here to bring you guys a video talking about the Lenovo Legion Go and why I sold my ROG Ally X to get this thing. I'll be going over some of my personal reasons and yeah, just overall talking about this device and how it compared to the ROG Ally X. So yeah, starting off, one of the biggest gripes that I've had with the ROG Ally overall is that the screen on it is kind of small, and it's not the end of the world. Like, it's definitely okay to play on and I've definitely enjoyed using it, but when I did get my hands on the Lenovo Legion Go, let me tell you, the screen is a game changer. It's a lot bigger obviously than the ROG Ally X, and it's a higher resolution. It's 1440p screen, so you're going to be getting a lot better of an image from this, and honestly that makes the biggest difference for me. It's 144 hertz, and while you're not going to be able to properly take advantage of that refresh rate most of the time in games, when you're navigating windows you definitely feel how fluid it is. So that's one of the biggest things for me, and I love how the screen goes from bezel to bezel. It looks a lot more modern in my opinion, and I mean, just the sorts of like images that comes out of the screen is just amazing. So that's one of the main reasons. The second reason that I noticed with the ROG Ally X, and that I've also seen some other owners report, is that the buttons on the ROG Ally make a lot of squeaking noises, particularly the triggers here. So that is something that I've had an issue with on my ROG Ally X as well. I don't think it's an issue with the original ROG Ally, just with the X, but yeah, my X definitely had a lot of squeaking going on in the right trigger and the left trigger, sometimes both. And that's very annoying and something that I've not had to deal with the Lenovo Legion Go. There are some ways to fix that issue on the Ally X, which involves taking it apart, getting some lube and kind of lubing the parts up so that way it doesn't squeak anymore, and that's definitely a solution, but I feel like that way is something that should be happening on a $800 device, just my opinion. And besides the triggers squeaking, the D-pad also was doing some squeaking, and obviously I don't have the ROG Ally X right now because I did return it during my return window from Best Buy, but the top and the right D-pad, when you click on it, it would also do a very annoying squeaking sound, and the right analog stick would also make a really annoying noise when you would hit. It'd kind of be like you're hitting against like a wall. When you're getting up to like right here in the very, very top, it would feel like you're like really like hitting against something, and that would be super annoying. It's just these little things that are in the build quality that is just not all right, especially for that expensive of a device. And I don't know if that's just because I've had the, one of the earlier models. Maybe that's something that they'll fix in the quality control as the revisions come along, similar to how the original ROG Ally had the micro SD card reader problem, and in the later ones they sort of try to address that issue. So I don't know if maybe that's something that'll be fixed later on, but that's just something that at least the day one models had. So that's just one of the other upgrades. The third thing, and honestly one of my favorite parts about this, is how much of a kind of this reminds me of a Switch because of the detachable controllers. So just by holding down this part and moving it down, you could detach the controllers, and you could use this. Let me go ahead and get a better grip. You can use this as a tablet, which is awesome because sometimes you might want to just kind of have this in your hand, maybe you're looking at like a YouTube video, you don't really want to hold on to the controllers, you have a full-size tablet here pretty much, and it comes with a kickstand in the back. And this kickstand is awesome. It's super sturdy and it goes pretty far back. So you could literally lay this down just like that, maybe move it up a little bit. And I mean, it's honestly super nice. And I've used this on a plane already. Kickstand like really came in handy when you don't really have anywhere to put this thing, and you can't really lean it against anything. So yeah, kickstand, major bonus. Obviously with the Ally X, you could probably buy a case for it that comes with a kickstand. That'll probably solve the issue, but it doesn't solve the issue of being able to take your controllers out, which is honestly a big bonus. I've used this just like a tablet too, just kind of looking at stuff, watching videos, that sort of stuff. And I mean, this is honestly a big game changer, and that beautiful display is, I can't stress it enough how much of a big game changer it is coming from the Ally X. So obviously there isn't all sunshine and rainbows for this thing. There are a couple of cons that you kind of have to deal with when it comes to using this instead of the ROG Allies. Number one is kind of the software. I would say that Legion Space, the software that the Legion Go uses, isn't as refined as Armory Crate is on the Ally, and that's pretty noticeable when you're first loading it up. And I'll even try to demonstrate it here with, let's go ahead and move this back a little bit. So thankfully they did add some like changes to the software that you could, you know, reprogram some buttons on these. So if you hit this button, it should load up Legion Space, and there we go. And so notice how it's doing a full startup, even though the device already started up. So for some reason, sometimes Legion Space doesn't boot up on startup, and you have to manually turn it on. While, you know, Armory Crate, if you enable it to boot up on startup, it'll always do that. And for this, it sometimes does it, sometimes doesn't. So that's something that they really need to address. And like just going through the menus, it kind of feels pretty slow. I mean, right now it's smooth, but sometimes it could feel pretty like jittery and just not as fluid as Armory Crate could feel. But once it boots up, I mean, it's pretty fast. And the quick menu also takes a little bit. So I pressed down on the button. It's been a couple seconds. There we go. So on the first time, it'll take that long. It'll take a few seconds before it starts up, and then you'll have access to the menu, and you could, you know, go through your quick toggles and all that. And so let's turn it off, turn it on. So yeah, I mean, there's still like a delay with the quick menu. So I know with the ROG Ally, this is pretty snappy, and I love that. And I wish that Lenovo could really optimize their software to run smoother, you know, be more snappy. And I guess just another drawback is kind of just the way everything's laid out here. It's definitely a little bit more confusing than on the Ally. I feel like on the Ally it's a lot more straightforward. You know, you're able to kind of find what you're looking for pretty fast, but here you really got to dig around, go through these, you know, different menus, and even things like these quick settings here is also kind of, you know, more, I feel like a little bit harder to go through. And also something, I guess another con is that the quick toggle stuff is not as good as the Ally. In the Ally, it has the two buttons in the back that you can use to pull up your keyboard or open up Task Manager or go back to your desktop. While there is something similar to that on the Lenovo Legion, like I know that if you hold this and B, pretty sure that'll do the keyboard. But this doesn't always work. I've had some issues where it would kind of pop up and then go away right away, or it wouldn't pop up at all. And I know that if you do, I forgot which one it is, kind of this button and the left, it'll kind of show you all like the quick toggles. And I mean, some of these are okay, like, you know, the keyboard, Control-Alt-Delete, which is, I feel like they should have just made that Task Manager instead of Control-Alt-Delete. Screenshot, shortcut list, Xbox button, and you can also decrease and increase your power consumption. So I mean, it's definitely got a few, but in my opinion, I just feel like the ones on the Ally just kind of work better. I'm trying to think of one other thing. Oh, right. One other con that is something that I've had to deal with is that you can't really use these thumbsticks as your cursor out of the box. Typically, you're supposed to use this trackpad, which is fine, but coming from an Ally, Armory Crate has a default mapping for your thumbsticks to use it as a cursor, and that is something that you don't have stock. And the way I found to kind of get around this is that you have to use Steam and use Steam input and map it so that way you can use it similar to an Ally, because sometimes the trackpad, I mean, it's nice and all, but I personally prefer using the thumbsticks to navigate and kind of have, like, you know, this to be like escape, right, or left click, right click, that sort of stuff. And I know that, let me, for some reason it should be working. So if I tap on that, that's weird. So yeah, like little bugs like that kind of distract you from the overall experience. But that's primarily it in terms of little nuances that bother me. Overall, the Legion Go, in my opinion, is better, and I just prefer I prefer having this bigger display. It's a lot easier to see and deal with windows using with like this display. I know there's some people that maybe install Bazite on here to use SteamOS, and that could potentially help with dealing with some issues. But you know, I'm reviewing this as a Windows tablet. I bought it to play certain games like Battlefield, for example. It uses anti-cheat. You can't play that on SteamOS. Certain other games as well, and obviously for like the better power. So yeah, and you know, there will be an argument made about the battery life, and yeah, the battery life isn't the best on this thing. You're dealing with about an hour max for most stuff. Obviously, unless you're just using it with Windows, just using like watching videos and stuff, then you'll probably be able to get more, like closer to like 2 or 3 hours of battery life just watching videos or browsing. But if you're playing games, especially AAA games, then yeah, you're looking at about like an hour, maybe an hour and 10 minutes, which personally for me is plenty of time. Usually I find myself not really using it for more than that when I'm kind of using it as like a handheld device. And if I'm, you know, at home, which is usually most of the time where I play this, I'll just plug it in and be able to play for longer if I need to. I don't really have the need to play for more than 2 hours just without the cable plugged in. So I kind of made that personal decision for myself, is that I'd rather have maybe the crappier battery, but I'd rather enjoy my content on a way better screen than what the Ally provides. And obviously, besides the other stuff that I mentioned, like the overall build quality and that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much all that I've kind of wanted to talk about. Please let me know how you felt about the video. If you have any suggestions for stuff that I can improve on, definitely want to keep making these sorts of videos for you guys, just to be informative about this sort of stuff. So yeah, let me know any recommendations or suggestions you have for me. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to keep up to date on when I upload. And yeah, hope you guys have a fantastic day. Peace out.